Working on the blue Corrado yet again. It's exhausting.
So this is the 2 litre 16 valve. So there's the back of the engine, there's the back of the air manifold. So first thing is the air manifold has to go. Okay, now with the air manifold removed, I managed to get the old exhaust system out. So it's a full cast iron manifold and there was a crack right in the center. I was letting exhaust up, so it had to go. I have a full stainless steel system which I'm going to show you now, and that's to go in its place. There's the cast iron manifold, the high flow cat, all the way back to 2 high flow back boxes, and this is the stainless steel system which I'm going to be putting on all the way down. It's all brand new, never used, and these are some beautiful stainless steel headers all the way down to so it's 4 into 1. There's my flex joint. So if you look compared to the old one, it started here, that's at the back of the engine, and stopped here, and the new one's going to start here obviously, but it's going to start much further back. So the question is, will I be able to get enough kind of curl down underneath the engine to get all of this into the car without taking the engine out to get it in first? So I'll keep you posted on how I get on. So this is the stainless steel nut, which is going to be welded probably into this piece here, and that's going to hold the lambda sensor or my oxygen sensor. From what I know, so after your headers come down where they join together, usually about 6 inches further down, you're meant to put this, and you're meant to put it also at a very slight angle. So the sensor isn't going straight down, it's going at a slight angle, so as the exhaust is flowing, it doesn't really impede the exhaust flow. Although this system is 2.5 inch, so I don't think it's going to really make much difference. So as you can see, my flex joint is exactly about 6 inches down, so I'm going to have to go down a good bit further. The only downside to this is getting further down into the car, and there mightn't be enough room right above the tunnel for a sensor to fit in, but I'm going to mock it up and see how it goes and then drill it afterwards. Okay, so I got the exhaust in and I am delighted. Well, that's the exhaust manifold with the headers all in, all the way up top. It's only mocked in at the moment. I only have one bolt holding it all in. To get it actually into the car, this is one of the hydraulic pipes for the power steering rack, and the top one is the one I actually had to open that and take that pipe out, so that when I dropped in the manifold, this bit here was just rubbing on it and I couldn't get enough bend. But I have it all in, which I'm delighted with, and now the next job is to figure out where to put my lambda sensor, which I'm thinking probably about here somewhere, and if there's enough room above, which I think there will be, because the exhaust has to come up a little bit as well. It won't be this low, it has to go up a little bit higher, but I think there should be enough room, and I will have to cut the wires on the lambda sensor and just extend them just a little bit longer, because from the factory it would end somewhere about here, so it's going to end up just about here. So it will be a longer wire, but I don't think it'll make any difference. I am absolutely ecstatic. That's the inside, which looks very nice with the 4 collectors coming together, and you can see some of the fluid, and all the way up there. Well, you're not going to see any better picture than that, but that's the 4 exhaust manifolds all coming together. Okay, I am just so happy. That's the 4 branch manifold coming in. I only have one bolt holding it on at the moment, but it looks lovely. I've never had a car with a fancy 4 branch manifold before, and the only downside to this entire thing is, one, having to do the damn thing, but the second thing is no one's going to see it, because there's going to be the air intake manifold is going to sit up here, and you're not going to see the 4 branch underneath. But so say la vie. Whether it makes any extra power or not to the car, I don't know. I probably will, because there'll be very little restriction in the exhaust system. There'll also be no catalytic converter. It's a 93 car, and here in Ireland for the test, it's from 94 onwards you need a cat, so I'm very lucky that I get away with it. Yeah, I think it'll help. So on the 16 valve 1.8, there's no catalytic converter and it's 136 horsepower. So in Germany from 92 I think onwards, the rules changed and you had to have a cat. So in the 93 Corrado, which is this one, they came standard with a cat, and to get the same horsepower, so 136 horsepower, they had to go from 1.8 all the way up to 2 litre. So if I have a 2 litre, now with no cat, I should get an extra gain in power. Hopefully anyway. My real concern is not the power, but the extra noise. I hope it's not too noisy. Like having the car running and everything would be lovely, but if there's drone or there's just excessive exhaust note, it won't be very nice to drive. So I'm really hoping it won't be too loud, and at 2.5 diameter for the exhaust, I hope everything runs alright. Okay, so I now have the bung for the lambda sensor all welded in. It's welded in at an angle, so when it goes into the car, it should be enough room that it can actually fit underneath the tunnel without the top of the wires on the lambda sensor rubbing off the tunnel and breaking off. Okay, so I currently have the exhaust hanging down from the top, and this is where I got caught. So these are the two power steering lines here. So the outside one, it was never going to clear it because it's the anti-roll bar underneath it as well. So what I did was I disconnected it entirely, so it's now just hanging there, so I can actually drop it down lower than it should be. And if I get enough of an angle, I think I should be able to pull her in there. That's one bit. Now to clear the anti-roll bar. So that power steering line would actually be sitting there. That's why I had to remove it. And I'm going to go up, give it a twist around because it's slightly more flexible in one direction, and it should now clear the anti-roll bar. Okay, so now have it over the anti-roll bar. So just give it a good pull upwards that way. This is a little bit flexible, the aluminium here, so they have to lift it over, or squeeze that up and lift it over the anti-roll bar. So currently my lambda sensor is pointing downwards, so it doesn't get caught here on the side. So I'm going to give it a slight twist now and just turn it 90 degrees. The lambda sensor will be sticking it this way, so it won't get caught in the anti-roll bar when I bring it over. So here we are on top. That's the exhaust currently upside down. So I'm going to give it a slight twist now, like that. Shove it down a bit more. Okay, it's now caught in something down below, so I have to go back down below. But you get the idea that you just keep walking it back and forth. And now the lambda sensor is actually somewhere down below, so it's not getting caught in any of this stuff. That's why you kind of turn it around, and also it just kind of slides in easier. Also, a really big help was, so that hole there should be for the bar to keep the bonnet up, and if you go to the next one down, it just puts the bonnet at a higher angle, so you can actually get more angle when you're shoving this down. It can be up here, and then you shove it down. And yeah, okay, let's go downstairs or down below underneath the pit and finish pulling in the exhaust. So I now have the exhaust more or less touching all of the pins there for to clamp it all together. Just to put the gasket in next and just check how the lambda sensor is all looking. Okay, so that's now the lambda sensor installed. It's at an angle, so there's a decent bit of a tip sticking into the exhaust, and it is at an angle. And we shove it up, so the whole exhaust still has to be bolted up tight, but when it is, there is enough of angle there that the wires won't be touching the roof of the tunnel here. And it's a 3-wire lambda sensor, so I've cut the wires probably somewhere, I'll probably cut them about there. Use as much heat shield as I can, run it in here behind all of this, and extend the wires up and bring them up to where the other half of the joiner is. It came off me that there's a cover that goes over all of this, So this is a 3-wire lambda sensor, and you can get 4-wire lambda sensors. The only difference is there's no earth on this. So I think what I have to do is on the exhaust manifold I have to ground it, and that will actually give me my 4th wire, which is ground. So I think that'll be it, and it should all work. Fingers crossed. Okay, so this is the center box, and wow, it's really shiny, really clean. I probably won't stay this clean forever, but said since I'm opening it, I'll do a very short unboxing video. So that's that open. So if you look carefully inside, there's kind of like a shape of a cross or a plus symbol. So there is baffling inside it. It's very fancy. That's all the information on the side of it. So yeah, really happy with that. That's lovely. Okay, so here are the old gaskets. So kind of just as well I am replacing them. So here's the first one. It's actually split in half, and you can actually see the bonds are starting to break up in it. Same with that one's okay. This one here, it's cracked as well. And this one, you can actually see the carbon on the ring just here, and it's broken here, and you can see where it's moved over time. I haven't gone near these before. This is just totally original. This is from the factory, so it is time to replace it. With the stainless steel kit is the stainless steel gasket. It's one complete one rather than 4 individuals. A little bit rusted, but that's because it sat on the shelf for the last 9 years. So I've had this kit sitting on the shelf for 9 years, and it's even older than that because I bought it second hand, never used, never installed, and I got a good deal. That's how it's going to look when it's finished. Looks quite nice. There's a nice styling to it, and if we go down the pit, we'll see how that's how it looks. Still have to take off the bubble wrap. There's 2 hangers here, so I'm going to use the bottom hanger, so the top hangers can be cut off. It's kind of a spurious kit that it does fit other Volkswagens, maybe like Jettas, that kind of stuff as well, but it is primarily for a Corrado or a 2-litre 16 valve. So that's all done. Again, there's different hangers, so you can see the one there on the right. There was another one on top which I had to cut off. That's the stubs of it. And this is the third design, so there's 3 different ways of hanging the exhaust depending on the type of car you have. There's the back or the center box all the way down, and again the lambda sensor up there somewhere. So really happy with the way it turned out. I have to cut off that top hanger because it's just in the way, and I have to weld up a hanger at the very back because for some reason my Corrado is different than every other Corrado. Where are we going? So that's the hanger, so my one would come out vertically and this one here comes across. So I could either spin this around, but it still won't match up anyway, so I'm going to weld a different hanger on. That's what I think I'm doing anyway, or else I'll get a different way of hanging the rubber off the car and come down this way and join onto it. Okay, so I have a problem. So these hangers should hang vertically straight down, and they're hanging too much that way. And this arm here is like a swan neck, and it goes up and over the rear axle, and you can just see it like that. And of course you can see the problem at the moment, which is, I just set the light up there. So the rear axle is just here, and it's touching here, and it should be further back. So my solution is this pipe here. You can see it comes up to here. It's quite a long pipe, actually comes back to here. So I've marked where it currently is, And if I can work out the distance from here to the highest point on that swan neck, if I take that measurement, put it there, or sorry, put it at the very end of the pipe when I take this apart, and just cut that piece off, it'll bring this piece here that way, and all of this assembly here will just move down a bit, and that should line up everything over there as well. This is a bolt together system, but it's not being very bolt together. So this would be quite easy to do. So you undo your straps just here, drop the whole thing down, pull it apart. Unfortunately, I bolted up the 4-branch manifold, and as each of these sections is pushed into itself, there's now not enough room to actually separate them. So they're stuck inside the car, and the only way to release them is to go up and do all the bolts on the 4-branch manifold, drop it, try and separate it back here, and then separate it here, cut out the piece. And this is turning into way more work than it was meant to be. It was meant to be a 2-day job or two-night job, and it's turning into being way more. So my plan is, I have gone onto eBay and bought a V-band, a 2.5-inch V-band, and my thinking is it'll be here hopefully by the end of the week. So I'm going to cut this piece off here, but I'm also going to chop it here and put my V-band in here, and it's kind of a quick release, so it's only a clamp that goes onto 2 half circles, or 2 kind of circles that are on a flange, again in the shape of a V. So it just clamps it all down, and if I have to take this back box or the center box or the back box or adjust stuff, I won't have to take off the 4-branch inlet manifold to take out the 4-branch exhaust manifold to drop all of this. It'll just be a quick release. I'll be able to undo it here. The flex is up there, so this piece would actually hang down. I could then separate it if I wanted to replace that piece or this piece. Or so this shows the exhaust. So when it's hanging free, but there's no exhaust in the front, the 2 here are just hanging straight down, the 2 hangers, and over there is exactly the highest point on the swan neck is over the highest point just here. So that's how much it has to move down. So about 1 inch, I think. So that's what I'm going to cut off, the pipe that goes into this pipe, and that'll hopefully have everything correct again. Okay, so you can see I now have it all correct, that there's a nice little gap just underneath here, so it's not touching, the pipe isn't touching the rear axle, and it's not touching the heat shield. It's touching a little bit, but it's not too much, and it's not making any noise, which is great. Still not overly happy with it. I would have liked if this pipe here was up here more, but we'll see how it goes. Okay, so I moved the whole pipe back that way, about 1 inch. These are now sitting more straight, so they are straight down. I had to cut this bar here and re-weld it because this shaft here was somewhere about in here, so there's only a little tiny bit holding it on, and if you pull that across, your whole exhaust wants to go that way as well. So I have it now just cut there, re-welded, and put it back in here. There's not an awful lot of stress in this piece here, but there's more on this side, so it is being held up, and I think it is going to be correct. And I wanted it slightly pulling that way, ever so slightly, so just to keep the whole exhaust in nice shape. I thought if I had it going straight down, it might want to wander back and forth the exhaust, but this way it's just kind of putting a tiny bit of pressure just going that way. So now onto the back. I end up using heat compound paste because it was the only way to make a seal. That one just kept leaking, and I think when it went into the expander, I don't know what the correct name of it is, but I think they expanded it too much, and even with the clamp on it, it's not tightening up quite right. So I used a good bit of heat compound paste, and it just made it seal. And I did the same with not this one, but the next one down that's down there, another bit of heat paste in it. And then coming back to the exhaust, so I cut the very top hanger off that, so I'm only using this one, which is correct for the Corrado. Same with that one, there's 3 hangers, so there's this one here, and there's one on top. So this one on top got cut off. This one here obviously isn't going to be used, I'm not going to bother cutting it off. and this one here is just hanging, just holding it up. There's no hangers at the front, so that's the only one there, and that's that one. And then coming back this way, I end up using the 2 hooks. So there's a hook actually going up into the chassis, and there's another hook on the actual exhaust that I had to weld on. It is meant to be a bolt-on kit, but it didn't really turn out that way. So the other thing is, this is for a Corrado, this exhaust. It doesn't fit the hole. So I have had to cut just a small, I get the light over here. I had to cut just here, and on the previous exhaust, it had melted a small little bit of a chunk on this side as well. You can see there is a gap there, so that's what it looks like. So there is a slight cut on both sides.
Okay, so that's now the exhaust. Okay, and Pebbles the cat. This is Pebbles the garage cat. And so these are all grain stores, and she likes to roam them and search for mice, even though there's no mice. But we don't know whether it's no mice or because she has them all killed. Alright, back to the exhaust. Okay, brilliant. So that's now the exhaust all fitted. So what do I think of it? Lovely exhaust, all stainless steel, all very nice. So 2.5 inch all the way back. What do I think of it? It is bolted together without it being directly bolted together. Like, you would want to have access to a welder, because some of the clamps are in the wrong place. At least on my car they're in the wrong place, so I had to re-weld. Clamp up here, cut 2 clamps, there's a bracket that goes across on a clamp, and it was welded too much to one side, had to re-weld it back to the middle again. Weld in the bung, but that's kind of given with an O2 sensor or a lambda sensor. Like, you're gonna have to weld it in anyway. Just kind of a pity that when all the stainless steel came pre-welded, pre-done, there's 3 different types of hangers that they didn't just go and like, right, let's just stick in an O2 bung. But apart from that, I'm actually delighted with it. Now, because of the middle box with all those holes in it and kind of veins going in different directions, there's no drone. There's no loud noise out of it, which is brilliant, which is exactly what I wanted. I think the shape is lovely, nice big oval. I would have liked it to be maybe ever so slightly smaller, because this hole here, it isn't wide enough, it isn't big enough to take this size. So I'm going to show you there quickly. So there's a gap just here, and there's a gap just here. And there is, but it's a bit hard to see. Yeah, I'd cut this one here in. This one here had melted on the previous exhaust I had in the car. Yes, Pebbles. So guys, thanks for watching, and I'm sure you've seen in previous shots the cat roaming around. So this is Pebbles. She's a rescue cat that I found just in a big pile of sticks on the side of a motorway, and she was starving, meowing like mad. And so I gave her a bit of a sandwich. So, can you take my sandwich? And left her there, came back, I think it was like a day later, and she was still in the same place. So I gave her some more food, went home, came back the next day, and she was still there. And she started to take to me, so she decided to come home with me. And ever since that, she's a very cheap cat to run. She doesn't take expensive cat food, she just likes plain boring nuts. And yeah, she's a great mouse killer, so she likes to roam around the garage here and kill mice, or keeps me company anyway. So thanks for watching. See you next time. From inside the car, there is a small little bit of drone. So the new exhaust sounds louder on camera, but it's actually quieter.